Hi guys. Okay, for today, just to go over the materials really quick, I have a cup of water, and it's not even halfway up the cup. Just a little bit of water to rinse out your or to clean out your paintbrush when you're in the process of changing colors. I have some acrylic paints here. If you have tempera paint, you can use a tempera paint too. These are acrylic. They come in these little bitty tubes. It's this cheap paint that I bought a long time ago. So the colors that I squirted out here are red, orange, yellow, some purple, a little bit of dark blue and light blue. I have some white and I have some black. Okay, and we're going to be painting a sunset, and it's going to be, we'll be using the wet on wet technique to kind of blend some of these colors in. So just follow along as best as you can so we can try to do that together. This is parchment paper. I don't have an actual, like a painting palette. I thought I did have one here, but I don't. So I actually improvised and I used parchment paper. It has some kind of like a bit of a glossy end to the end, and that's the side that I use to put the paint on. The water is not going to go through that, so that's why I decided to use this, because whatever water I do use on here won't be enough to make a mess or spill over. I don't have canvases, but I do have cardboard, and I did prep this with a little bit of gesso. If you don't have gesso, you can prep it with some white paint. Alright, so now that we have the materials out of the way, we're going to start off going from the top to the bottom, and we're going to start off with the yellow. Okay, so you just wet your, oh, and before we even wet our paintbrush, make sure that you have a rag. Whoops. Make sure you have a rag here on handy, because you'll need that to wipe off the paintbrush before you put it in the water. Okay, just so the water can stay semi-clean or not so full of paint that it messes with the different colors that you have here. Okay, so the very first thing is make sure you dab the water, the excess water out. Pick up some yellow, and we're going to start from the top. I'm actually going to start at this top just because I have like some, this is from the cardboard. I don't want to work on that, and I want the top to be this side. Okay, so start off by just putting some yellow at the top here. And so basically we're going to do like a gradation. But we got to make sure that when we're putting this paint on, it's a little generous and it's not dry, because what we're going to do next is the color that comes after the yellow should be the orange. So even with a little bit of the yellow on here, you can pick up the orange, because we have to kind of blend it in. And this is where the wet on wet technique comes in. You're kind of using the wetness of the paint to kind of make a different color in between the color change. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up this orange and put it down right underneath the yellow, and I'm going back and forth in kind of the sweeping motion. And notice how this yellow here is kind of turning yellow orange, or like a peach. And that's okay, because sunsets usually have these different colors going from yellow to red, and from a light or bright color to a darker, more intense color. Go ahead and pick up some more orange, add it right underneath this peach color that you already mixed with your yellow. And you may have to be even more generous with this orange, just to make it a little bit more intensified or brighter. And if you feel like, oh, this feels too dark here, right? This line is too harsh, you can go back to the yellow and just add a little bit more yellow here. And that's really the beauty of the wet on wet technique, because then you can just go back and keep adding paint if you wish. I'll leave that alone for now, and then if I decide that it still needs more yellow, then I can just go ahead and go back and use more yellow. So now I have the yellow, and I have this orange yellow now going on, and then I have this orange. Now we're going to move on to the red. So go ahead and pick up some red, and you're going to place it right underneath that really intense bright orange, and kind of move upwards in the sweeping motion to kind of get the red orange in between the red and that orange. And just go ahead and put as much paint down as possible. And again, if you want to go back and add more orange to this area here, you can. And I did just add a little bit more orange. Okay, so then now the next color that we'll move on to is this purple here. And because I have so much orange on here, I feel like I should wipe off a little bit. Oops, my paintbrush just broke off. I'm gonna wipe off the paint and then wash it out just a little bit. Now I'm gonna pick up some purple and put it right underneath this red here. And I'm actually going to limit the purple just because I need space for the ocean underneath it. And I'm just gonna go ahead and do this sweeping motion going upwards. If you feel like you want the purple to be just a little bit darker down here, you can add a little bit more purple just down here. It's up to you how you feel comfortable, how you feel looks good, okay? And I feel like I dragged the purple too high, so I'm just gonna add just a little bit red to kind of bring it back a little bit. And it's okay if some of the purple gets in the red and some of the orange gets in the purple. It's totally okay. Okay, so now that we have this going on here, this is part of the sky. Now we can go into the ocean. So because this is a horizon here, or it's supposed to be the horizon, it's supposed to be off in the distance, so we gotta make it the dark blue. So I'm gonna use a little bit of the dark blue and do what we've been doing already and take it down. You can take it all the way down. I wouldn't, because I want to leave room for the light blue that I have. This kind of, and it's okay if this area has a hard edge to it, because this is an ocean, and it doesn't necessarily have to be straight. An ocean isn't usually straight. You can have some waves if you want to make it an aggressive looking ocean, or it can be a straight line if you just want it to be a calm ocean. All right, so now that I have the dark blue going here, I'll pick up some light blue and add it to the bottom section and take it all the way down to the way bottom part of my cardboard. And I'm turning the paintbrush back and forth this way because I'm noticing I'm accumulating a lot of paint on the other side when I'm putting the paint down. And so just so I don't waste too much paint, I'll go ahead and just move the paintbrush back and forth, alternating sides. Okay, so it has a little bit of the gradation from, you know, darkness to lightness. if you want it to be a little bit lighter here, you could mix in some of the white with the blue on your parchment, or if you have a palette for paint, and on your palette, and then add the lighter blue here. It's up to you. That's, you know, if you feel like you just need a lighter blue, then feel free to do that. Okay, so now that we have, I'll wash it out, our sky and our water, and if you feel like some of these things need to be lighter or brighter, for example, this yellow here and the orange was not working for me. I'm just going to put a little bit more yellow to kind of give it a little bit more of a soft gradation. So the next thing we're going to do is wash out our paintbrush. And going back to the purple, you can use the same paintbrush. If it's a big paintbrush, I suggest using something smaller, but we can, if you're using this kind of paintbrush, it's a flat, you can use just the edge of it, and that's what I'll do. I'll just use the edge of this guy so I don't have to search for other paintbrushes. And I'm going to use the purple to kind of just dab some round clouds around here. I'm just dabbing, going up and down dabs. And they don't necessarily have to be perfect. They're off in the distance, they're fading out, they are, maybe they don't even look like clouds, but they're supposed to be clouds. And whatever texture the paintbrush gives me is what I'm going to stick to. I'm not going to make it a big deal because I'm actually going to paint a palm tree in front of this. So I'll leave that alone and just assume and hope it's going to look awesome with the palm tree sitting here. So we have to let this dry just a little bit. It's still really wet. I give it maybe 10 minutes. So I'll pause this video, give it some time to dry, and then we'll go in with a black paint, paint a little island with a little palm tree and some rocks. And then you've painted your sunset. Okay guys, so now that it's kind of dried a little bit for me, it's still a little bit wet, but it's okay. I am going to wipe off the excess water off the paintbrush. I don't recommend the paintbrush to be too wet for this part, just because it's gonna make the black paint bleed all over, especially if this paint isn't completely dried yet. So the first thing that I think we should focus on is just let's paint some rocks here on the edge, and they don't necessarily have to be perfect. You can kind of box them off. I'll do another one right here. They're just rocks, or maybe a landform that you can't necessarily see, and go ahead and just paint it in black. If you don't feel comfortable painting the rocks and the tree and the little island we'll be painting, and you rather use, if you have it, a Sharpie or some kind of like an inky pen, if you feel like that's gonna work better for you, you can do it with a Sharpie or a pen. So the little bristles are kind of sticking out and they're not making me make these jagged lines here. Okay, so once I have these things going, decide anywhere. It can be off to the side, it can be off on this side, it can be dead center. It's totally up to you where you want your little island to be. I'm just going to go ahead and place it here. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a perfectly shaped island, or or really big. You can make it a big mound. It can be a really small mound. I'm going to make mine small. If you are going to paint this in black and you have a smaller brush than this is a size 10 and it's a flat brush. If you can find something, or if you have something smaller and it's round, for whatever reason I can't find any of my round brushes. I found all the flat ones, but these are all flat brushes, but I don't, for whatever reason, my round ones aren't with them. I don't know why. So, but if you have a round brush, I suggest you use that. Okay, so now, and I'm not going to get a whole bunch of paint for this section. It's just enough to get the black on there. You're going to go ahead, and it can go straight up. You can tilt to the side. It can tilt to this side. It's really up to you how you want your tree to look. I'm actually going to have it start from the bottom here and just kind of tilt a little bit to the side. And off of that one line, I'm going to build on it. So I'll make it just a little bit thicker by adding just a little bit more black. And if you feel like the paint is too thick to work with, then it's okay to add just a little dab. That's just a little dab of water, okay? I barely dip the paintbrush in the water to get just a little bit going. Okay, so just build on the line that you initially made. Okay, I'll just add a little bit more because paint is way too thick. Okay, so from this line that you created, and you create it as thick as you wish, you are now going to create the branches. And again, you have to decide where you want your branches. I'm going to draw 4 to 5 lines, okay? So I'll draw one line here. I'll draw the second line on the other end here. I'll just add a little bit more water here on the side. I'll do a third one here, a fourth one there. I can do another one here, but I think I won't do that. I'll just have like a little hanging one right there. Okay, so now this might get tricky for some of you, okay? And I just want you to take your time, be patient. If you need to practice on another sheet of paper, then practice it first, just because I'm gonna need you to use only the tip of the paintbrush, and I'll just practice really quick here to show you. So if you have the tree, right, and you have the branches, you're only gonna use the tip of your brush to fill in the leaves of the palm tree. I'm barely brushing it with the tip of the paintbrush. Barely brushing it with the tip. If I use more force, if I press down further on the paintbrush, it's gonna make the brush strokes a lot thicker, and that's okay if you want your leaves to look this way. It's really up to you how you want your leaves to look. Do you want them to be more feather-like like this, or do you want the paintbrush to apply thickness? It's just up to you. Lightly, barely touching the paper, or you're really kind of pressing down a little bit further and really dragging the paintbrush in the paper. The same goes for your painting. Okay, so if it's going to help you to practice on another sheet of paper to see how it looks first, then do so. I think I am gonna probably go with, I think I might try to go with this one just because, I don't know, I just like it better. And it's totally up to you what you feel comfortable doing and what you like better, okay? And I might need a little bit more water to get this paint to work a little bit easier. All right, and it's okay if these brush strokes are overlapping because the leaves are next to each other and they will overlap. So no big deal if they're overlapping. So totally up to you how you want your brush strokes to look, thick or thin. If you want them thick, press down a little bit. If you want them thin, ease up a lot. And also take into consideration that the cardboard or whatever it is that you're working with has its own texture, and it's going to allow you to work with it. It's giving me a little bit of a hard time, but it's okay. At the end, it's going to give the impression of a palm tree, and that's what I want. And then take it to the other side. And if some of the paint is still wet, it's okay. See, it's kind of giving that palm tree look. And I'm actually applying pressure. It's not very light how I'm working here. Because I really wanted these strokes to be kind of thick. I didn't really care for the feathered strokes. Okay, so we got that going on there. Now I'm going to work with this one here. And if you need to move your cardboard so your arm isn't twisting this way, feel free to move it. I constantly have to move my work around to get comfortable, because you do have to feel comfortable when you're creating your artwork so things can come out the way that you want them to come out. Now I need to flip this over because I can't twist my arm that way, and also my hand isn't strong enough. My arm doesn't feel confident to work like that, so I have to turn this around this way. Let me hold that down because it's moving. All right, I'm on the last leaf here. And I'm noticing that some of the yellow paint, I'm not sure why the yellow, I was kind of expecting the orange or some of that purple from the cloud to show through here, but for whatever reason the yellow paint is what's showing up on these black leaves. But it's okay because you can always pick up some more black and just kind of dab it in there a little bit. Okay, now that I'm looking at it, I feel like I should add just a little bit more right here. And you can always do that, guys. You can always take a look, step back, take a look, and then decide if you need to add more. And I think it's fine now. I won't add any more, but I see how the yellow is kind of coming out now. Some of the water that I used here is kind of making the black come off and the yellow show through, which is okay. When it dries a little bit more, then I can go back and add more black if I want to. If not, I don't think anybody will really notice unless you point it out to them. Okay, I'm going to wipe this paintbrush off, and it has to be totally wiped off and really cleaned out with your water, and really wipe it off again, because now you're going to use some yellow and some white for some of these highlights in the water. Okay, And the highlights are just little lines, little squiggly lines that go across the water, okay? You may have to use a little bit of the water to kind of get the paint to work with you a little bit, kind of like how we were using with the paint, the black paint. And just wherever you decide, go ahead and paint in some of those highlights that you need to add. I'd say make them brighter, closer to you towards the bottom of your picture plane than back here, okay? Just because these will look brighter in real life because there are the ones that are closest to you as a viewer. Now you can take some of the yellow paint and you can place the yellow near the white, or they can have their own thing going. It's up to you where you want to place your yellow. And it's just kind of reflecting the yellow from the sky. You could do red to reflect some of the red. You could do the orange. It's up to you really. I just do the yellow, and I got some yellow there, and I didn't want the yellow there, so I can just go back with the black and cover that yellow that I didn't want in my rock. Okay guys, so here is your, take a look. You created your own sunset with your palm tree. So when all this dries, don't forget to sign your name, because this is your artwork. If you would like to share with me, take pictures of it and send it to me. I'd love to see them. And if you would like to hang this up or put it in a frame, don't forget to Mod Podge it. When all this dries, take a thick paintbrush and just do one layer, let it dry, and then do a second layer, let it dry, and then it's ready to be, and then it's ready to be hung or placed on a wall or something. Again guys, you can go back if you feel like you need some more yellow in there or some more orange. You can go back and mix some of these colors and get them in there. It's totally up to you. I did it one way, going from top to bottom to make it easiest and easy to follow. If you don't like these clouds, you don't have to add them. You can always go back when all this dries, go back with the orange and just paint over it. Go back with some of the red and paint over it. So don't worry if some of this stuff that you created isn't what you expected it to look like. You can always just paint over it or start again. So I hope that you had fun doing this project. Bye.